Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're demystifying the absolute core of cybersecurity risk. Look, we hear about data breaches and massive hacks in the news literally every single day, right? But to truly understand how to protect ourselves and our organizations, we really need to pull back the curtain on how these incidents actually happen. So we're going to break down exactly how malicious actors compromise systems step by step. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the cyber risk equation. Then, malware, the digital infection. We'll cover hacking the human mind, the threat from within, advanced persistent threats, and finally, defending critical infrastructure. Let's get to it. So I want you to imagine a scenario. You're sitting at your desk, just going through your morning routine, and you get this incredibly urgent email from your bank asking you to verify your account immediately. It looks perfectly authentic. It's got the official logo, the formatting is totally right. So, you click the link and enter your login credentials. Well, in that split second, your account is compromised. This exact thing happens millions of times a day. But how do we actually define the mechanics of what just happened? Let's break down the core components. Section 1. The cyber risk equation. To really grasp how attacks happen, we first need to get the vocabulary right. Let's start with a threat. Basically, a threat is any circumstance, event, or actor capable of exploiting a vulnerability and causing harm to an organization's assets. Think of a threat like a burglar just sort of lurking outside a house. Now, that burglar could be a cybercriminal, a nation-state actor, or even a malicious insider. A threat can actually even be a natural disaster, like a flood taking out a data center. Simply put, it's the potential for harm. Next up, we have vulnerability. A vulnerability is the weakness itself. It can exist in software, hardware, organizational processes, or very often, human behavior. Returning to our house analogy, if the threat is that burglar outside, well, the vulnerability is an unlocked window on the ground floor. In the digital world, that unlocked window could be a really weak password, unpatched software, a misconfigured firewall, or simply a lack of employee training. Which leads us directly to the attack. An attack is the deliberate attempt to exploit that vulnerability to compromise the system. The attack is the action. It is the burglar actually climbing through that unlocked window. In cybersecurity, this translates to actions like stealing credentials, running SQL injections, or dropping ransomware. When you put it all together, you get this chain reaction, and this brilliantly illustrates the cyber risk equation. Cybersecurity risk becomes a reality when a threat is able to exploit a vulnerability through an attack. For example, let's say a cybercriminal, our threat, finds out an employee uses a terrible password, our vulnerability. The criminal then performs a credential stuffing attack, which results in unauthorized access to sensitive data. Okay, so now that we understand the equation, let's look at the weapons these attackers actually use. Section 2. Malware, the digital infection. Malware is just any software intentionally designed to infiltrate, damage, or disrupt a system. But let's contrast three of the most common types, because how they spread is key. First, a virus. A virus actually attaches itself to legitimate files and requires some sort of user action to spread, like you actively opening an infected Word document. Second, a worm. Worms are nasty because they're self-replicating. They spread automatically and rapidly across networks without any user interaction at all, just chewing up massive amounts of bandwidth. And third, a Trojan. A Trojan disguises itself as legitimate software, maybe a fake antivirus program, to secretly perform malicious activities behind the scenes. But unlike viruses and worms, it doesn't self-replicate. Knowing these propagation methods is absolutely vital for stopping them. But what if an attacker doesn't want to write complex malware? What if there's an easier way in? Section 3. Hacking the human mind. Now, what's really interesting about this is that often the easiest way into a network isn't through some highly technical vulnerability. It's just by exploiting human behavior through deception. Phishing is the classic example of this. It's when attackers impersonate trusted organizations to deceive victims into handing over confidential information. And phishing has evolved way beyond those mass spam emails we used to see. Now we have spear phishing, which targets highly specific, researched individuals. There's whaling, which goes right after senior executives like the CEO. And it's even moved off the computer screen and onto your phone. You've got smishing via text messages, think of those fake package delivery alerts, and vishing, where they literally call you on the phone pretending to be tech support. But phishing is just one branch of a much larger tree called social engineering. This is the psychological manipulation of individuals. Attackers exploit trust, fear, urgency, and even greed.
Take baiting, for instance. A classic baiting scenario is an attacker intentionally dropping a USB drive labeled salary adjustments right in the company parking lot. Human curiosity virtually guarantees someone is going to pick it up, plug it into a corporate computer, and instantly compromise the network. Or consider quid pro quo, where a fake IT tech calls and offers to fix a slow computer. But hey, they just need your login credentials to do it. So we've looked at external tricksters. But what about the dangers that are already inside the organization's perimeter?
Section 4. The threat from within. Insider threats originate from people who already have legitimate access. We're talking employees, contractors, trusted vendors. And there are two primary types we need to worry about. First, the malicious insider. This is someone intentionally causing harm, committing data theft, sabotage, or even corporate espionage. And honestly, that's terrifying. But then you have the negligent insider. This is just an employee who unintentionally creates a security risk by making a mistake, clicking a phishing link, sharing a password with a coworker, leaving a company laptop at a coffee shop. While malicious insiders are definitely scary, a negligent insider simply making an honest mistake can be just as devastating to an organization. All right, we need to shift gears now and slow our cadence down a bit to talk about the true heavy hitters of the cyber world.
Section 5. Advanced Persistent Threats.
Unlike your typical smash-and-grab ransomware attacks that just want a quick payout, advanced persistent threats, or APTs, play the long game. These are incredibly sophisticated, highly organized, and very well-funded attacks. They are commonly associated with nation-states. Their goal is almost never immediate disruption. Their goal is absolute stealth. They want to set up shop and remain completely undetected inside a network for months, sometimes even years, to pursue strategic objectives, conduct ongoing espionage, and continuously extract highly valuable information. The typical APT attack lifecycle builds in very careful, sequential stages. It almost always starts with reconnaissance and an initial compromise, often through a highly targeted spear phishing email. Once they are inside, they immediately work on establishing persistence by installing hidden backdoors so they don't lose their access. Then they use privilege escalation to gain administrative rights. Armed with those admin rights, they begin lateral movement. This is where they silently creep through the network, hopping from server to find the high-value assets. Finally, they move to data collection, packaging up sensitive information, and end with exfiltration, sneaking that data right out the back door without sounding a single alarm. And when APTs and other advanced threats operate at this level, they often target the very systems that keep our society running.
Section 6. Defending Critical Infrastructure.
Let's make this concrete. The aviation sector actually acts as a perfect real-world application of every single threat we've discussed today. Just imagine malware taking down global ticketing systems, grounding flights worldwide. Picture sophisticated phishing campaigns stealing credentials from key airline employees, or social engineering attacks tricking airport security personnel. Consider the immense risk of a malicious insider misusing their access to alter aircraft maintenance records, or an APT quietly conducting cyber espionage against aerospace manufacturers to steal next-generation designs. In critical infrastructure like aviation, a successful attack risks not just stolen data, but massive operational disruption and, absolutely most importantly, public safety. This brings us to a foundational truth highlighted in our source material. Quote, cybersecurity requires a balanced approach that combines technology, organizational policies, employee awareness, and effective risk management. End quote. You simply cannot solve this equation with software alone. So how do organizations actually fight back against all this? Well, they use a comprehensive strategy called defense in depth, and that basically just means layering your defenses. You implement a zero-trust architecture, meaning never trust, always verify. You enforce multi-factor authentication everywhere. You deploy powerful endpoint detection and response tools to catch malware the second it lands. But you also apply the principle of least privilege, giving users only the access they strictly need to do their jobs and absolutely nothing more. And critically, you have to invest in continuous security awareness training. Solving the cyber equation takes both cutting-edge technology and a team of educated, vigilant employees. We've covered a massive amount of ground today, from the basic equation of risk all the way up to the terrifying complexities of advanced persistent threats. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought to evaluate your own personal or organizational security posture. Based on the cyber risk equation we discussed, where a threat exploits a vulnerability to cause an attack, what is your most critical unprotected vulnerability right now? I want you to think about that unlocked window in your life or your business, and then go lock it. Thank you so much for learning with the Explainer today, and stay secure out there.